Welcome to Childcare Conversations with Kate and Carrie.
Well, today we are so excited because we have a guest. And sometimes we put people in some sort of chair, but today it's the director's chair. And we are so glad that Ericca is joining us all the way from Rhode Island. And, you know, what a wonderful thing that came out of COVID. And that is that everybody seems to be perfectly comfortable with doing Zoom. So if you are watching the video of today's podcast, you will actually get to see our guest. If not, you do get to listen to her. And we are so excited to talk about building strategic partnerships and that role that plays in your childcare program. So, Ericca, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about you and tell us a little bit about your podcast.
Sure. So my name is Ericca Saccoccio, and I have been in the field for 25 years. I absolutely love it. I have 3 childcare locations, and I am proud to say I am an on-site owner. I am very actively involved with my children and my families. I have amazing staff that support me and allow me to do things outside of the center, like today, when I want to do things that my heart follows and desires, like my podcast. So I'm super excited to be here. The Child Care Director's Chair podcast is really, we just talk about the real things in real life of running a child care center, like right now, not theory, not practice. Like I got vomited on yesterday, just like you probably did too. So we keep it very real. And we just try to help navigate the challenges that we're all facing. And I don't pretend I know all the answers. I give you the best of what I got and try to bring on some folks on our podcast that can also contribute to the conversation, because I think collaborating together is very, very important for our industry right now.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Carrie. Where do you want us to start?
So, I mean, in my head, because we're talking about building the collaborations, and the two things that I'm hearing from directors the most right now are increasing enrollment and keeping or getting good quality staff. So those are the two places that I want to start with. We'll end up going into all the advocacy stuff about partnerships as well. But I want to start with whichever one you feel is most valid for leveraging those connections. Do you use it more for bringing clients into programs, or do you use it more for finding your ideal staff connections?
So that's a great question. I have been very lucky and blessed that I do not struggle with enrollment. However, everybody's state is a little bit different. So here in my state, we don't have as many of the universal pre-K spots that are open. It is continuing to grow in my state, but I feel like many other states kind of were ahead of the game there. They're also taking 3-year-olds as well. That is not happening here. So we're just losing 4-year-olds. And not at the same pace as other states, just in my conversation with other folks. I think that some of that I will attribute to not only partnerships, but I'm really focused on customer retention. I feel like there's a lot of conversation about how do I enroll new kids? How about take care of the ones you have right now?
Oh my gosh,
Hallelujah.
You are speaking my love language.
Yes.
It is so much easier to keep the families you have than to go out and dig up new ones.
Yeah. So, I think right now as people are putting together open houses for all these new prospective families. So I'm going to give you a real life story. So in the last 3 weeks, I've had probably 15 families that have come in to tour our center. Of those 15, 8 of them were already enrolled in another childcare center and they were looking to make a move. So make sure, like when you're doing things like open houses and any special event, make sure that you are also equally taking care of your currently enrolled customers, because this is the time that they're going to jump ship. There's a couple times that they're going to do it: the beginning of the school year, the end of the school year, or 30, 60, 90 days in, right? We all know that. So pay attention to that. I'm sorry, I get very excited when I talk about my kids.
Yeah, it's the January, it's the beginning of the school year, and it's the end of the school year. Every year, those are the 3 times that you get new clients in and you get some of your clients wandering out the door.
Yeah. The other thing I think some of it is a mindset too. When like the other day, like I said, we had a lot of tours. I closed 9 out of 10 tours. Now I've been doing it a very long time. And before I was in childcare, I was in sales. So I am very, very seasoned in understanding body language, understanding when people ask questions, how to answer those correctly, make sure that I've answered them correctly, make sure they don't have any more questions. But I think that I get really excited because when I enroll children, I don't go, oh my God, I just made my company another $100,000. I think, oh my God, I just enrolled 5 kids that I'm going to get to spend the next 5 to 10 years with. And
Absolutely.
yeah, and my program is built out that way. So we don't just have infant, toddler, pre-K. I also offer school age programming. So my program is one that kids grow into, not out of. So I made sure that my business was successful. I see Kate smiling in the corner. But yeah, I mean, I made sure I built my business to be for the long haul. Your kid is not a 5 minute on my spreadsheet. Your kid becomes part of my extended family. And I truly mean that. I truly mean that. So I think enrolling children into your program, yes, takes some marketing, but it takes skill and focus on who you have because they will be raving fans for your business. They will
Oh,
tell their friends. I
I
know,
love
Kate, just
you.
jump on. I love you too. I love you too. But they will be raving fans for you. It's not about marketing tricks and I bought you the t-shirt that has my logo. It's not about that. Nobody is staying for those things. Those might be the little dangly thing at the end of the rope that might get real people in, but they don't stay if you don't take care of them. So taking
Absolutely.
care of them is tip number one. Take care of who you have.
Okay,
Well, I think what's
so
great.
no, I'm like, I think we go down that route as far as the connections.
Okay, I just wanted to say that I think it's great that Ericca A actually knows the lifetime value of her kids because I would suspect that probably a third of the people listening don't even know what that means, let alone what is the lifetime value of your family. So, yay. And I'm glad that you knew the number and talked about the longevity because, why do you only want a family for a year? You want that family for anywhere, like you said, 5 to 10 or 11 or 12. Keep those families as part of your program. You might have a Carrie who, is only gone for 4 years out of childcare, middle school when they kicked her out.
Well, those are true stories. I mean, I have children. Well, again, this happens when we're a little seasoned like ourselves. So
Yeah.
I have children who work at my program. Well, they're not children now, but teachers who work at my program that were my students. I
Mhm.
also have children who were my students are my students' kids. Like, I mean, come on. So build your business around that. Forget about all these tricks and tips and all the crazy nonsense. Treat people right. It's good business sense. Treat people right and they will love you. They will write reviews. You don't have to have a contest for a new bike. They're going to write them organically. You don't have to do all those things. If you're struggling, I know right now, my best advice would be, I know right now universal pre-K is taking a big part of students in many states, right? We have to acknowledge that. So you also have the ability in most states to decide two things, whether you want to compete or you want to collaborate. So you decide because it doesn't have to be an either or. It could be both. You could have two preschool rooms, one that's state funded and one that's not. And then if you have a child in your program that's already enrolled with you that then gets picked for the lottery, they don't have to leave where they know and love. And the parents still can get that break, that financial assistance of not having to pay for childcare. There's so many things so many opportunities right now that it's crazy to me that only people see the obstacles. So many opportunities.
Yeah, I mean, the private public partnerships that pretty much every state has with the publicly funded pre-K, and people just go, oh, I don't want to have more paperwork. Okay, if the paperwork comes with $100,000 check attached to it, I will do the paperwork. Like, who are you that $100,000 isn't worth a little bit of paperwork? I
Or
don't
if
know
you
if
don't
that
like it,
principle.
hire somebody to do it. I mean,
Yes.
anyway.
So, like in Texas, we've got 3 different kinds of partnership that you can do that can be part of the public pre-K. And then each school district may have something on top of that. And this is an easy way to, instead of seeing that as a threat, see it as a way to have more stability in the finances of your school, because governments have a tendency to pay their bills. You don't have to turn them over to collection agencies nearly as often as you have to turn families that are self-pay who are struggling financially, right? So I 100% agree that there are ways to handle that. And we have not done an episode on that. And that is shame
I
on
actually made myself a note because one of our directors actually just partnered with Fort Worth ISD and is currently promoting that preschool classroom. So I
There you go.
literally wrote my little pink note.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's just another stream of revenue. Tap into the food program, tap into the universal pre-K. Again, the more revenue streams that you have come in, the less dependent you are on any one of them. So if something doesn't work there, there's so many ways that you can bring other revenue into your center. Don't be 100% all in on just tuition pay, because that could be the end of your business. You want to make sure that you really are bringing in these other things.
Absolutely.
And if you've got school age program, having the summer school feeding program, I can't remember what it's called, but it's run by the USDA.
The food program, federal food program.
Yeah, but it's not CACFP. It's
Gotcha.
for neighborhood kids that can't get their free lunches at the school because the school is closed.
Yeah.
But being a resource where kids come by and they pick up their lunch bags from your school is another revenue source. And those kids can be playing out on your basketball court. And then their parents are like, well, how much would it cost for my kid to be inside the building instead of just playing hoops in your parking lot?
I think too, even bigger and more meaningful than that is put the revenue aside for a minute. When you do things like that, your investment in your community is very evident. And when you invest in your community, they invest back in you. They know who's there for the Louis Vuitton bag and who's there for the kids. So, just make sure that when you're doing these things, that you are thinking about your greater community. And we talked about, before, reciprocal relationships. Nobody supports your business more than your local community. Most of the kids that come to you live 5 to 10 streets. I'm in Rhode Island, so we're super small, but they live really close to you. I can't go food shopping and not see 19 of my students, right? Give back to your community.
Yeah, and whether that means that you put up a free library in front of your school, whether you partner with a community food bank or clothing drive, like there's so many ways that you can expand and reach out to more members of your community than just the kids that are bringing your school. We love the car seat rodeos. Again, we're from Texas. Rodeo is what we call it here. I don't know what you call it in Rhode Island, but where everybody brings their cars and their car seats, and you have somebody who is qualified to make sure they're all installed correctly.
Right. Yeah.
So Ericca, if you were having a conversation with a director who's been in the field for a couple of years and she's still struggling with the concept of A, community partnership, or B, her families are leaving, what would be advice you'd give to her right now?
Well, you gotta
give them
or him.
There we go.
Yeah. I would say you got to be visible. So you got to be present. You got to be visible. Talk with the families that are in your program now and see what organizations, what groups, where are they? Where are they? What are they doing? Right? Because you already have, I don't want to say plants, but you already have people in those areas that already love you, right? So ask them, say, hey, I know that you go to this local church. Would you mind getting my stuff in the bulletin? Or are they having a bake sale that I can go there and help and set up and volunteer, have all your staff come with their logo shirts? There's a million ways to do that. If you're still struggling, I would say, do some homework, see what other people are doing. You don't have to do it alone. Reach out to other childcare directors. They don't have to be your exact competitor, although I also think working with your competitors sometimes works great for both of you. So I don't want to say poo-poo on that, because there are many great directors that I know that are in my vicinity. If I don't have room, I refer the family to them, and they do the same to me. So you can also do that. Talk with other centers that are close by that maybe are full, that have a wait list. Because listen, wait lists can, especially if you have an infant, forget it. That's a year long. Kid's going to be a toddler before they ever get to you. We are in the business to serve families. Stop being greedy and help serve the families. If you're full and you can't help them, refer them to another small business, and they'll do the same for you. You have to be reciprocal. It can't always be like this.
Love that. I think that's awesome. So if they aren't figuring out how to keep their families, what might be a word of advice as far as a way to start
Building
creating
those
that raving
raving
family?
fans, getting those raving
Oh
fans.
God, I don't know.
Taking them
It's
from
not a
customer-
problem I really had. So I mean, I think gosh, I don't know. I've always been like that, but I'm Italian, and my culture is very much, I'm very loving. I'm very transparent. I make relationships right from the start, and I cultivate them. I would say ask for feedback, ask why families are leaving, see what's going on. Like, have you even done a market analysis? Who are you competing against? What do they do? These people are going somewhere. Is it your rate is too high? Is it your program stinks? Is it all of a sudden you're on a road where they're doing construction for 2 years? Why are parents leaving? Ask the question. And sometimes it's hard. You got to be reflective, ask your staff. A lot of times your staff know why parents are leaving. Ask your staff, talk to your staff. Like, a lot of times it's, either the pricing, they can't afford the pricing. There's too much turnover in your program. Look inside, do some surveys and see what's going on in your program. Because I don't know. I mean, here almost all the centers have wait lists. We don't really have a huge issue with a lot of empty spots, but again, we're probably a year or two behind where you folks are all in Texas with this, all these private or state funded classes.
Yeah, well, I've known of at least one program that people were leaving because the rates were too low.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were going because they were like, I can't believe you can provide quality childcare for this low a rate.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was
that.
lower even than in some home-based programs. And they're like, how are you going to keep good staff at that rate?
Yeah, I believe that.
Both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, I'm right smack dab in the middle. So I believe that statement is probably very, very accurate. And I think that too, because when people look around in my area, I'm not the highest and I'm not the lowest. And I actually do have the highest Bright Stars rating in my area on top of that. So
Awesome.
yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean, I've already proven that I continually have quality.
Her school age program is a 5-star.
Yes, ma'am.
So I have a question, Ericca. So here we have a lot of people, and I call that the recycling of buildings, right? So like somebody retires,
Mm-hmm.
somebody's been around for over 20 years, they retire, and they may retire for a couple of different reasons, but your traffic example is perfect here in Texas because we're always building something new. Apparently we don't like anything we ever had. So roads, buildings, businesses, everything's moving. And Carrie and I, one of the things that we did was we took over a program to basically save it. But it was as a result of one of those situations where the major employer, i.e. the airport, right? Like it totally moved by 15 miles. Wow. And the child care center did not respond to the community in a way it needed to. And so it lost a lot of folks, a lot of staff. And how do you suggest to somebody who has found themselves in what I call that recycled building? Yes, it's always been a child care center, but really it shouldn't be. How would you encourage them to, I don't know, maybe not be there, but if they signed a lease, what do they do? How can they fix that?
So actually 2 of my 3 buildings actually were recycled buildings that I bought off my previous boss. So I have lived that life. So that's good. I think I would have definitely been proactive the minute that I found out that the airport was moving. I probably would have reached out to other businesses and collaborated with, can I be your childcare center of choice? So I would first look for what other resources are available. Right. And this is why I also said, don't have all of your income coming in from one stream. right? Because if you were a state funded class, that wouldn't matter if the airport moved because you would still have that coming in. So don't put all your eggs in one basket for sure. If there is a point where you really, 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 it's time to move, the building's just not savable, well, then you have to move. You have to move. You have to make that decision. Honestly, I do love the thought of turnkey operations. And I think that there's so much opportunity right now to get into a center that's operating. There are lots of folks that are retiring. I always think that's a great strategy. You're not paying for build out. You've already got some staff. You've already got children. So you already have income coming in. Make sure you do your due diligence, take a look and see what the backstory is behind it, what their reputation is, all of those things. But even those things, depending on how severe, but even those things can be overcome with the right leadership.
Absolutely. Any last pieces of advice before we wrap up? Or Carrie, do you have one final question?
I mean, my question is, what is the one relationship you've had that has been the most valuable over the 20 years of running your schools?
With my staff. The most valuable is my staff. I couldn't do anything without my team. And I do have teachers that have been with me for 20 years, 15 years. I had a teacher who literally just gave me her 2 weeks notice. Well, probably about 4 weeks ago, but literally just gave me her 2 weeks notice after 20 years because she was going to try working at a charter school. Exactly. True story.
I might be stalking you a little bit.
It's okay. It's okay. But
Carrie,
I mean, because I
quit telling her punchline.
it's okay. I tell the truth. The most important relationship to me is with my staff because I don't have a business without them. They are the ones that work with the children. They always have my back. They always help me, both personally and professionally. I can remember a time, okay, I'm gonna share a story. I can remember a time that we were not doing so great money wise. Money was really tight, and I had to pay a lot of taxes on a building. And I remember I didn't have enough money, spending money to go out to eat lunch. And one of my staff bought me lunch. And I remember crying, saying, I will never, ever be in this position again. So, how weird is that? Because I always made sure they got paid before I did. And and so people might be like, why? Well, if you were that broke, so let me tell you a little backstory about that. So the state of Rhode Island, because this is where you can't put all your eggs in one basket. The state of Rhode Island under Gina Raimondo had a problem with their payout system. So childcare providers were not getting paid their tuition that they were owed. They pay us a month behind. Their system crashed. It wasn't just childcare, it was all benefits crashed. It took about 3 months to get that money back. I was floating the state over $100,000 when all was said and done. So that's how I ended up in that position. I said, never again will I allow any center to be over a certain amount because one of our particular centers is really high in childcare subsidy children. And I never ever will do that again to my business. But yeah, so that's what happened. So kind of like your airport story. Mine was the state of Rhode Island. I laughed when Carrie said, well, the state usually always pays you. And that's true. They do. Without a doubt. Their system crashed. The system crashed and they were trying to figure it out.
Right now we've got Missouri's got some of that. The state of Missouri is about 5 months behind.
Yeah.
They've got programs closing right and left. And then the programs are like, so when they do pay, are they actually going to pay us back? Because a lot of them are breaking, commercial leases, which comes with a fine. And yeah. So it's been an interesting, I mean, unfortunately, all 50 states don't do things the same. And you'd think that if one of them figured something out that maybe they'd share. But
so that's my key takeaway from all of this. Build your relationships so that way you are not dependent on any one revenue stream. And keep the faith and be present, be authentic, be transparent with your families, be transparent with your staff. It's okay to tell your parents, hey, we lost 5 students to XYZ, and be transparent. People really do admire that.
I think what's great about the transparency, and I'm going to wrap us up here, is if you tell them, not only did I lose 5 kids, so if you know anybody at your church or your kids' little league or any of the play groups you're in, I have some openings that I need to fill so I can keep my staff. I mean, sometimes you have to actually ask for them to refer, because especially if you've had a wait list, it doesn't always click, right? Like if you had a wait list at one point in time, even if it was the toddler classroom and they're now 4, unless you ask, we don't know. So
yeah, and I mean, I've definitely seen a lot of those kinds of situations over the years. I was kind of thinking through when there was a restructuring of one of the big nonprofits that sponsored a lot of childcare centers. And like, I've seen lots of times when people had too high a percentage of their eggs in one basket and it has bitten them in the fanny. And so I just think you have dropped truth bomb and knowledge bomb after bomb after bomb in this episode. So I hope people were taking notes. If you feel like you didn't get at least 5 big takeaways from this episode, go back and listen to it again, because Ericca was just dropping it throughout here. We're going to put ways to connect to Ericca in the show notes. But if people wanted to get a hold of you, what is your favorite way for them to reach out to you, Ericca? Is it the podcast? Is it one of your socials, or email?
Yeah, you can message me on any one of my socials. I answer them, and I answer them quick. Yeah, I'm always ready to help anybody. So it is Childcare Directors Chair on Facebook and CCDC podcast on Instagram.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, if you guys loved listening to Ericca, don't forget to listen to us, because we're going to join Ericca the end of September. So it'll probably post sometime in October. And we're really excited because we have got some secrets that we're going to share on Ericca's episode about a new book about monkeys.
Nice.
Okay.
Thank you guys so much. This was super fun.
Okay, guys. So share the show with somebody you think needs to know what you learned today.
Thank you for listening to Childcare Conversations with Kate and Carrie. Want to learn more? Check out our website at texasdirector.org. And if you've learned anything today, leave us a comment below and share the show.